Hello, hello. Good morning. It is June 25th, Friday, about 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. I've been up for about an hour. Um, yeah, I just quick reflection, I guess. I had a hell of a time sleeping last night. I was in bed by about 11, tossed and turned until about 3 in the morning. I had such bad restless legs. Holy moly! And say hello. Good morning, kitty. Say good morning, kitty. Silly guy. Anyway, I was listening to some Machiavellian type YouTube videos, and it reminded me. I was like, "Shit, I think I bought that book," and I did. I bought this a while ago. The Prince by Nicola Machiavelli. I bought that a long time ago and never read it. And I kind of remember stumbling across his videos in September when I was just collapsing in life. Everything was going wrong and nothing seemed fair. Um, and I recognized my problem. My biggest problem was my abuse, my patterns with substances and alcohol. So I cut those out, and for all intent and purposes, I've held that up. I had one slip last weekend where I went out drinking. And prior to that, it was October where I had slipped one evening and did a bunch of and alcohol. But they're not failures; they're setbacks, and you just keep moving forward, and that's what I've tried to do. So yesterday, I had a bit of a bump in the road again. Nervous system response to something I wasn't anticipating. And anyway, so I started watching these Machiavellian type videos, and they're very interesting. They're slightly different take than Stoicism or Buddhism, but all of them kind of centralize around that concept of like acceptance of what you can't control. And man, is that tough? It's the human experience to kind of resist that almost. And the more you resist change that you can't control, the less happy or at peace you'll be, is my takeaway from all of that. And no doubt that's true. Oh man, this shirt is fucking hot. Sweating. I was just outside having a cigarette and a coffee, and it's beautiful outside today, so I'm gonna try and take advantage of it. I might have to finish working today and do that tomorrow. I think the weather is supposed to be less cooperative. I want to do, like I said, I got to cut the grass and do some whippersnippering. But anyway, back to the subject here. Machiavelli. I discovered that through YouTube, rediscovered. I mean, I had his book. I didn't know what the hell it was about. I bought it kind of on a whim at a bookstore in the psychology section, and I just thought it was neat, and it's a small book, so I figured, I could read that in a day. Anyway, yeah, so the Machiavellian outlook or principles, a lot of the YouTube videos that were popping up on my timeline in October were more about dark psychology and how to get even, and I mean, I recognized very quickly, it took me a couple of days to realize, like, Alex, getting even with her is not what I want. It's not, it's trying to control the uncontrollable. And so I found that those videos were sort of hypocritical of this Machiavellian outlook, and they didn't align with Stoicism. That being said, the videos I watched last night were a very different tone. They didn't talk about dark psychology of manipulation. They spoke more about just it was like a radical acceptance of what is, and that landed different for me. I was much more accepting of that, I guess. There was less friction for me. And anyway, I watched, I don't know, probably 2 hours of those videos consolidated. One of them was 24 minutes about lessons in life or something, the Machiavellian perspective. And that one was interesting, man. It talked a lot about just the injustices and cruelty of life, and that seeing it that way will keep you forever miserable and not at peace. And the biggest takeaway for me was that the dissection of or the dichotomy between peace and happiness, and that happiness is fleeting, and happiness is sort of like the weather, um, where you can appreciate the weather, but if you base your happiness on it, you're going to be miserable a lot of the time because weather changes and it's not permanent. And peace is the opposite of that, is where radical acceptance of what is, that if the storm destroys your house, it is what it is. And that's tough, man. And most people don't live life that way. I'm no exception. I've reacted more times in my life than I care to share. Um, but that it's a not honorable, but a reasonable goal, I think. So I'm gonna try and read The Prince maybe this weekend just to kind of get his actual perspective. And I'm sure this book has been, transliterated or whatever over the generations. This book is over 500 years old. It's um, some of the other people's perspectives on Machiavelli too had me a little like, well, what the hell? He talks. A lot of them talk about, life rewards power, and the power imbalance exists for a reason in market forces, and deception is required if negotiation doesn't work, and da, 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 and some of that doesn't sit well with me because at the end of the day, like, I know who the person is that I want to be, and deception is not part of that. Yeah. My brain went racing there for a minute. Sorry. The I What I'm trying to communicate, I guess, is that, like, look, the Stoics, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and the Stoics by Epictetus and Socrates and all that stuff. I mean, those men were around 2,000 plus years ago. Machiavelli was 500 years ago. To deny that the world has changed physically, yes, especially in terms of like socially and the way we live, has changed more in 50 years than it has in 5,000 years. I mean, we're in a very different place today as humanity, and there's still power imbalance for sure. I mean, Elon at $1 trillion is crazy. Um, but the difference between him today versus 500 or 2,000 years ago is that everybody still has opportunity. It's not like Elon has everything and everyone else has nothing. That's much more in line with communism than it would be modern capitalism. It might seem impossible to acquire wealth, but that's not how capitalism works. Capitalism requires this cyclic capability for everybody to participate and add value. Most people add value in a very repeatable way, and that's why we're replaceable as employees. And people hate accepting that, and I'm no different. I had a lot of jaded feelings in my heart when I got fired. Um, but anyway, yeah. The dark psychology aspects of Machiavellian theory too. It's that I'm not convinced that you can't live a good life and be a good person whilst acquiring wealth. I mean, I don't think Elon is evil. I think he's very motivated and very um, I wouldn't say self-serving, but you have to be, and we all are. That's the other thing I struggle with when I hear people shoot him down. I'm like, dude, all he's doing is responding to market forces and market requirements, and he's the guy that figured it out, and that just tends to consolidate power. And Bezos, the same thing, and the mom and pop bookshops that got swallowed up are just consequences of that human nature. People buy from Amazon because it's cheaper and quicker than going to the bookstore. So all these people that complain about him are the same people that buy from him. So that hypocrisy really gets to me. It bothers me a lot. But there's that radical acceptance again, that trying to control what I can't control is futile. It's a waste of energy, and it costs you your peace. So I'm going to put more effort into kind of not trying to control what I can't control and focusing more on the things in my life that I can control. And one of the other points that the Machiavellian videos pointed out was that 50% of your life is left to chance and uncontrolled context or environment. The other 50% is what you control individually. And obviously, the higher up the food chain you go, the more control you have. So, that That number is probably applicable to the vast majority of society, not the elite few. But anyway, yeah, I really want to explore this idea of, if I'm going to be in a business, which I really hope to be, do I have to be cunning and deception? Because I don't want to, and I don't in my heart believe that you have to be. And I don't know, I want to use that as motivation to just prove that wrong. Business is what it is, man. It's the game of capitalism, and some people win and most people lose. But again, radical acceptance, which leads me to my last and final point of frustration. Is I was thinking, like, well, who is a modern Stoic / Machiavellian type thought leader in modern society? And the first person that came to mind, some people will disagree, would be Jordan Peterson. I do find that man to have a lot of depth, and he's well spoken, well educated, and he, like him or not, he's deep. And there are parts of him that I don't like, and he talks about Stoicism and Machiavellian theory quite a bit. And for a man that's learned in those subjects, the one thing I find kind of hypocritical or ironic, I don't know what the word is, but he's adamantly against, he's right leaning, so he's against things like birth control and homosexuality and trans and grown men being in women's bathrooms. And some of that I agree with. I don't have a hard line in the sand, because I just kind of look at it as like, it's not my fight and I can't control it. But if I had a daughter, and I found a man in the bathroom that was pretending to be a woman, I could understand how some of those men would be pretty damn upset and want to break that guy's nose. I don't. So again, that's why I step back, is like, I don't have a fight in this game. But anyway, the point that I was trying to get at with Jordan Peterson is, for a man that preaches Machiavellian and Stoicism quite a bit in his videos, he's also, Christian leaning. That doesn't say much for his ability to just accept the uncontrollable, that, he's trying to control a movement with trans people and, even gay people, lesbians, globalization, like, these are things that are uncontrollable, that once the genie is out of the bottle, that's it. Like, it's a movement. It's not a person. You can't stop movements. Any more than Microsoft, when that tried to stop open source, and now look what that got at Microsoft. They're no longer the dominant player in desktop or operating systems, maybe in desktop, but not operating systems in general. That by far and wide is Linux and Android. So, yeah, anyway, that bugged me a little bit. And when I'm trying to reach for a modern day philosopher that would be able to bring a perspective of social modernity, or whatever is the word I'm looking for, to kind of tell me if I'm on the right track or not, is that you can live a good life and not be deceptive and cruel and ruthless. And the best of the best businesses are maybe ruthless, man. Microsoft is no different than Google, is no different than Tesla or SpaceX or whatever. And I don't think they're necessarily evil either. So maybe that's something I have to just accept and comprehend. I know what it means to me to live life as a good man. It's to leave as little impact, or not impact, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to leave a wake, for lack of a better word. I try and go through life as non-destructive as possible. I don't destroy lives, even of little critters that are in my house. I throw spiders and insects outside. And in the winter, I put them in the basement. It sounds silly, but to me, that all percolates up. If you can treat an insect horribly, you're one step away from treating a mammal horribly. And if you can treat a mammal poorly, you could treat a cat poorly. And if you can treat a cat poorly, you can treat a human being poorly. And so I often say things like all lives matter, and that triggered a lot of people a couple of years ago. But that's all I meant from it. I wasn't trying to take away from the Black Lives Matter. It just, for me, principally, all lives do matter. And I don't even like killing mosquitoes, but I do because um, they are a nuisance and they pester me and they bite me and I get, that's a compromise I make. So there you go. I'm a hypocrite too. Anyways, guys, that's 15 minutes. Good for me, I think. I'm going to have one more shot of coffee, work on my computer for an hour, and then go to the gym and do some yard work. So pitter patter, let's get at her. Have a great Friday. Have a safe and happy weekend. Love you all. Take care. Bye.